court filing from retired General Michael Flynn's legal team, alleging that FBI agents manipulated the former National Security Advisor's statements, leading him to be charged with lying to investigators in what his lawyers are now calling a case of outrageous government misconduct against their client in the Russia probe, once again raising questions about whether bad actors inside the government, the deep state as President Trump calls them, were out to get him from the start. Those fresh allegations come as a criminal investigation has begun now into how the entire Russia probe began. And as the president today claimed, the impeachment probe over Ukraine is also, in his words, a hoax. The president pushing back on the impeachment testimony of Bill Taylor, the top U.S. envoy to Ukraine, who earlier this week seemed to tie the president to a quid pro quo. At least that's what the Democrats suggested. The president today firing back.
Here's the problem. He's a never-Trumper, and his lawyers are never-Trumper. But a never-Trumper sometimes is more vicious than a failed Obama candidate or a failed Clinton candidate, who I beat both in the same election. But there's a lot of angry people out there, and that's the way it goes.
But remember, Democrats have been claiming all along impeachment is about high crimes and misdemeanors. Truth, justice, and the American way, they say.
We're here to find the truth, to uphold the Constitution of the United States. This is not a game for us. This is deadly serious.
But tonight, some Democrats are publicly admitting this might really be all about political payback. Oversight Committee Democrat Jerry Connolly bluntly telling the New York Times, quote, "I think you're seeing some payback here. It's all about," he says, "karmic justice." Good evening, everybody. I'm Ed Henry, in for Martha McCallum, and this is The Story. If Connolly's statement about political payback from the deep state sounds familiar, back in January 2017, before the president even took office, Democrat Chuck Schumer alluded to something similar, issuing this warning to the soon-to-be commander-in-chief. Watch.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
All this as Congressman Connolly is one of several Democrats now saying the whistleblower at the center of all of this doesn't even need to testify anymore. Connolly telling the Washington Post, quote, "I think it's quite clear we have a surfeit of evidence that corroborates in full every aspect of what happened." My next guest is one of several Republicans who pushed back on the impeachment proceedings this week by protesting what they call the secretive closed-door sessions. He's Florida Congressman Michael Waltz, who joins me live now. Congressman, good to have you.
Thank you, Ed.
So I thought Democrats were sort of mocking the president all this time at the idea that there was a deep state. Now they seem to be admitting, well, maybe there's a deep state and there's political payback directed at the president. What's going on here?
Well, you know, Ed, I've worked with fantastic Americans across CIA, Justice Department, the Defense Department. Heck, I worked in the Bush White House and Pentagon and disagreed with a number of policy positions. I pushed back to my superiors. I made my views known. The president makes a decision, and then you move out and you execute. And so, you know, we were talking about Ambassador Taylor earlier in his testimony and our pushback on how secretively this is being handled. I've asked for 3 weeks now as a sitting member of Congress representing nearly 1 million Floridians to see Kurt Volker's testimony, which apparently told a very different story. But what we're seeing is that gets squashed. I can't have access to it, and other members can't have access to it. But we see Taylor splashed all over the front pages. There's some basic elements to our justice system here, and this is the impeachment of the President of the United States. Yeah. The accuser faces his accused, in this case the whistleblower. He's allowed to have counsel, and the defense is allowed to cross-examine and then bring their own witnesses. None of those things are being allowed in these secretive hearings. Yeah. And here's the other thing I just found out this week when we went down to the SCIF. All of those hearings have been announced as unclassified. There is no reason to be in that secure facility. It's all unclassified. So why can't I have access to it? And I'm responsible to my voters.
You know what? It's not just you and other Republicans raising this. We've heard Adam Schiff and others saying, Republicans don't like the narrative. They don't like the facts for the president. Actually, there are Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard. She's running for president. Maybe she's got other political motives. But listen to what she told Sean Hannity last night.
that inquiry needs to be done in a very narrowly focused way, and it must be done transparently. I don't know what's going on in those closed doors. We as members of Congress don't have access to the information that is being shared, and I think that the American people deserve to know exactly what the facts are, what the evidence is that's being presented as this inquiry goes on.
When even some Democrats who have been supportive of an impeachment inquiry are saying there needs to be more transparency, is the tide turning for your party?
And I encourage everyone to look up House Resolution 803 passed in 1974 that governed the rules for the Nixon impeachment. Newt Gingrich inherited those rules and adopted them as a Republican speaker for Clinton. They laid out the scope, they laid out the rules, they made for transparency. That's the precedent, not Benghazi, not other normal oversight hearings that go on for classified reasons. Those are the rules that we should be adopting, and the mainstream media should be asking Pelosi why we can't debate and vote on those rules and why these are being held in secret. There's no reason for it. Again, every hearing has been announced as unclassified, so Schiff's having it both ways. He's able to control the narrative, but keep it unclassified so that he can leak it without any issue.
All right. Well, pressure does seem to be building on Adam Schiff about this. Some talk that he's going to have to bring some of these sessions into the public.
This isn't what I fought for, Ed. This isn't what veterans around the world fought for. This is an unfair, unjust system.
Congressman, appreciate you coming in.
All right.